to be educated.
My interest in sex education began with puberty. At this time, a very loud chemical message was screaming, "Put something inside me now!" I didn't know what that something was, so I experimented. A lotion bottle, my finger, tampons, someone else's finger. Then in high school, age 15, I felt an erection for the very first time in my hand. That's what my body wanted. So, like a good teenage girl in America, I had anal sex so that I could keep my virginity until marriage. My name is Lindsay. I'm a sex educator from the United States who teaches all over the world. I do this through a YouTube channel called Sexplanations, and I've learned from my audiences everywhere that most people are frustrated by the lack of sex education they've received. Desire, erections, and anal sex aren't usually talked about at home or in school by safe adults. I taught at a university for many years, and most of my students didn't know that urine does not typically exit the vagina. There's a separate hole in the vulva called a meatus or meatus. Do you remember how you were taught about sexuality? Did you feel prepared to negotiate having or not having sex with someone? Did you understand the risks of sex and the benefits? Did you know what sex is? And is that definition the same as your neighbor has of it? An estimated 99% of human beings will have sex at some point in their lives. 88% will masturbate. 25% will experience sexual violence. 50% will contract a sexually transmitted infection. And my hypothesis is that all of us wonder whether or not we're normal. In 1872, a 13-year-old boy by the name of Havelock Ellis experienced a nocturnal emission for the first time, a wet dream. He wondered whether or not he was normal, and physicians at the time didn't tell him that ejaculating semen was natural. They told him it was a symptom of a life-threatening disease. Havelock was going to go blind, insane, and eventually die. Quite the doctor's appointment for an adolescent. Havelock contemplated suicide, but opted instead for documenting his demise. For 12 years, he kept records of his health. There was no deterioration, no blindness, no insanity, no death. So frustrated with the trauma from his medical disinformation, he dedicated the rest of his life to studying and teaching sexuality to spare others the same despair. He went to medical schools, he published journals, he accepted the transgender experience and women as sexual beings. Havelock contributed to the understanding that we have varying levels of sexual desire and pioneered open discussion of sexuality in many other ways. I'd like to think of myself as this kind of educator and want to encourage you to be this kind of person. What does that look like? Well, focusing on how to learn, not what to learn. How does this feel? Terrible at first, but then it feels amazing. Most of us who were taught in schools, surrounded by students, teacher in front of the class, were treated like receptacles for information. Our success as students was measured by how much we could hold, and our teachers' success was measured by how good or bad they were at filling us up. Here's what you need to know about erections, menstruation, body hair, and diseases. Sex is dirty. Save it for the one you love. Bah! In his manuscript, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Paulo Freire calls this banking system style education. The relationship between the students and teachers is transactional. Deposit this curriculum into this child's brain bank. Freire believed that there's an alternate superior method he called problem posing style education. Everyone is a teacher and everyone is a learner. Everyone works collectively to find a solution. It's a dialogue. What if my anatomy doesn't look like a penis or a clitoris? What if I don't experience sexual attraction? What if I've had sex and enjoyed it? What resources are there to understand sexuality as I age? We ask together and we discover together. In a classroom, problem-posing style education can feel disorienting. No one is giving out rote answers to memorize and regurgitate, but trading out the banking system for problem posing leads to a smarter and cooler society. When I started teaching human sexuality courses at the university level, I was given 15 weeks, 3 hours a week to teach the subject. This may seem like a lot, especially for people who've not been taught about sexuality at all. But for me, it felt like an injustice to my students. So I was determined. I'm gonna fit anatomy, physiology, culture, identity, attraction, paraphilias, conception, contraception, relationships, and pleasure into one semester. It went well, but the following year, I would learn more. Information would change. Something I had taught previously was no longer true, and I felt like Havelock Ellis, desperate. For example, how many of you were taught that the clitoris is about the size of a pinky tip? When I first started teaching, I would describe the clitoris that way, holding up my little finger to emphasize. But the clitoris is actually a much larger organ with a glans and shaft like the penis, and then 2 roots or crura that run the length of the vulva to be on either side of the vaginal opening. Another example, how many of you were taught bisexuality is sexual attraction to males and females, like it still says in most human sexuality textbooks? Now, since there's been an incredible movement in our understanding of sex and gender, as well as the language used to communicate identities, the definition of bisexuality is more accurately sexual attraction to people of the same gender and people of other genders. It doesn't play into the binary of male or female, and includes attractions to non-binary and intersex, trans, and genderqueer people. These nuances are very powerful. It is the difference between saying your sexuality doesn't matter to me and I see your valid sexuality. In 1493, Da Vinci believed penetration of a vagina by a penis was straight, and that female nipples were directly connected to the vagina. Magnetic resonance imaging from 1999 shows that at least from these two, the penis actually bends during penetration of a vagina. Prior to Antony van Leeuwenhoek's microscope in the 1600s, some thought pregnancy was caused by seminal vapors, semen off-gassing and wafting into the womb. For many people alive today, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual classified homosexuality as a mental illness until 1973. Right now, in the United States, an estimated 20% of infants a year have their foreskins cut off because their fathers have theirs cut off, because their fathers had theirs cut off, because circumcision was thought to inhibit masturbation. I want a solution that gives all of us more than 15 weeks of knowledge and enables us to discharge harmful content. It exists. Teach how to learn about sexuality. Learn how to learn about sexuality, not just what to learn. I reformatted my class. The first day became all about Paulo Freire's Pedagogy of the Oppressed. I wasn't going to tell them what they were expected to know and test them on whether or not they could recite it. I was going to dedicate the semester to teaching them how to learn by learning with them. They were given reading assignments, but they were encouraged to do more field research, to go to sex stores, strip clubs, comedy shows, ask your grandparents about their sexual education, get tested for infections, watch erotica, or listen to it on Porn for the Blind, interview clergy about sexuality across religions, attend Pride, abstain from something sexual for a time period. My students were invited to figure out ways to get them from the ideas that they had about how sexuality should be to a greater understanding of how diverse and beautiful sexuality actually is. They learned how to learn. In 2012, my class, like many other elective courses at the university, was set to be cut from the program. The university had mishandled sexual assault cases, enrollment dropped, the budget was being trimmed, and human sexuality was predicted to end. I approached a very successful YouTube educator who happened to live in my town. I explained the situation, and he agreed to partner with me on a free sex education show that we would publish each week for anyone with internet access. Within a year, we had 100,000 subscribers, over 5 million views across 88 nations. I would take a topic like dry humping, research statistics, current practices, language around it, and various techniques, and encourage the audience to stay curious about everything related to it that was still left to learn. Eventually, the tagline of the videos became "Stay Curious," and people made the sentiment a part of their ethos. There are now over 1.1 million subscribers and over 280 million views across 188 nations. The channel is almost completely closed captioned, translated into many languages, and receives messages like, "I have been following you since I was a young teenager. You are the reason I am confident in understanding, protecting, and caring for the parts of my body that others found taboo to discuss. You're the reason myself and my friends learned about our bodies when we were growing up. You have inspired me and many others for a decade. Thank you for everything." The problems are misinformation, ignorance, and the belief that there is a finite set of data we can pass from generation to generation and we'll be fine. The solution I pose is connecting people to curiosity, teaching them how to build bridges, not just how to cross them. I do this as an educator like Havelock Ellis and Paulo Freire, and I hope you will too. Stay curious. I want to positively reinforce safe spaces, educational spaces, and community spaces, which is why I talk about our sponsor Nebula so often. Nebula is a fantastic streaming service, so pretty and user-friendly, built by and for creators like myself. It's the health food version of YouTube, with all of the calories that feed your mind and entertain you, but none of the distractions, political campaigning, weird suggestions, and ripping off your favorite creators. I was introduced to Nebula by many of you because you're sweet and want better for me. You gave it amazing reviews as an audience, so I contacted my creative friends who also said it's great for them too. It's awesome for everyone. Henry Reich of Minute Physics, you may remember because he gave me permission to not wear a bra or makeup way back when on the Sexplanations podcast. Well, he's a delight to watch on Nebula. I also enjoy Princess Weeks, who does a brilliant job of critiquing media on all the sex fronts, like gender, identity, consent, pleasure. She catches things even I miss. Most importantly to me, we're on Nebula. Sexplanations is on Nebula. Those episodes that YouTube disappears are on Nebula. It's access to a whole community of chef's kiss creators who are passionate about bringing you high quality ad-free content, featured content, originals, news, culture, science, history, podcasts, and classes. Clean, easy, real. And you can download Nebula to watch or listen to offline, like on the plane, on the way to work. Maybe you take a plane to work. Like on the way to work, or on the plane, or in bed, or when you're camping by the side of a river. It's dreamy. Please check Nebula out. Signing up supports Sexplanations, and it gives you 40% off annual plans. That's go.nebula.tv/sexplanations. And if you already have Nebula, you can use a similar link to give a year's worth of Nebula to a friend or partner for only $30 a year. For only $30! And or you can go all the way with a lifetime membership that lasts for as long as you and Nebula exist. One payment, once, friends forever for everything on Nebula, now and everything that will be in the future. Oh, it gives me the chills. So many relationship options, so much relationship security. Nebula. Off-gassing and wafting into the womb, or listen to it for porn, or listen to it shit balls. I just want to get it and I can't. Yeah, I was like, is that the face of I nailed it? Did I convince her that I nailed it? Because I'm pretty sure that I didn't, so I'm pretty sure that she's smiling to tell me that I have to do it again.